do really well based on the results in the OQ. I've been very impressed by these players. I think the people who predicted Dare to win are gonna have a nice payout. You know, they definitely need it after predicting Immortals for winning the game earlier.
Well, with that being said, our absolutely fantastic duo is ready to take us into the game number 1 here between Dare and Supernova. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Travisy. Again, we are back here ready to give you some action, let you know what's going on the Rift, because my gosh, if that's the first series here on this broadcast here today, I can't wait for the second. And I mean, we got Dare versus Supernova. I mean, RMC, I believe you and I were on air for the last half of their Swiss bracket, and I mean, that was an absolute joy to watch.
Yeah, and this is why this was known as the Group of Life. IMT AoE dropping down to the lower bracket. Dare Gaming and Supernova. You can see how split everybody is on who's going to come out on this one here. And Dare Gaming, I think Precious said it best. Dare Gaming and Supernova, both of them like to play through their bot lanes. Team fights are going to be absolutely critical. So going into draft here, Orbital, I expect to see some more AD carry focus. I don't know if we're going to see quite as much as a 380 carry ban coming through in the first round, but if it does come through, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, so far it is going to be that mid lane targeted away, and it's something that we were also curious. They touched mostly on the ADC roles. Of course, the mid lane is still one that we kind of watched there. Of course, have Enigma, who has had off and on, kind of a good showing. So to say already, let's take away the Corki shows that, hey, we are throwing a little bit of priority that way.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Ariandel played only one game of Corki in the OQs, played 2 games of Twisted Fate, 1 Rise, 1 Galio, and had Galio banned against him the other 4 games. So, as you can probably guess from all these sort of bans here, Ariandel is an amazing macro global style player here, an enabler of the other lane. So I'd be surprised if we continue throwing these sort of bans like the Akshan here and leave these sort of globals open. Either that or Dare has some sort of plan ready and waiting to go to try and catch that sort of global movement.
Oh, well, Supernova has a plan of their own, and they just said, Limo, you ain't getting that Hecarim. One of the fun things that we learned is Limo picking that champion up pretty quickly there. Respect handed over from Supernova's side. Lulu now taken away, so a nice little set of bans coming out here on both sides.
Yeah, and I think the Lulu ban doesn't really surprise too many people at this point. She seems to be the premier Enchanter support along with that Lux, especially Lux Caitlyn, but if not, Lulu generally more all-purpose Enchanter there. Now the question is, what is Dare's last ban here? If you do continue to leave that Galio open, I mean, Supernova is red side, so they get that R3 pick. They can potentially pick it on that R3, ban out some of the counters. But because Dare doesn't really play the Caitlyn too much, they actually have to ban it on the blue side, which is something we've not really seen up to this point.
Feels really, really bad, but Supernova, of course, this last one should be the Jinx, unless Psycho feels confident enough to actually take a champion into it, which if it does, that sets up a very large collateral, and it is. So this is a challenge handed directly from Supernova here in this first draft, and Dare are going to take him up on it.
It's a best of 3. If you throw down a gauntlet in game 1, the other team picks it right up here. And both these AD carries, BMFX Psychos, carry for their teams, have been playing a lot of Jinx. And here is the answer to come through from Psycho here. Ziggs accomplishes, somewhat similar things in AP way. Very long range, a lot of bursts to come through. And we got to see things like the Ziggs Camille combo, which could be something we see in this series as well. Fire Theft has played Camille twice so far in the OQs, but that's 40% of his games.
Yeah, I mean, might as well, especially if you are going up against the likes of a J4. Might need a little to the back here. Look at what the next ones are. Let's take a look and see what else they decide to pick. So far, bot lane has already been kind of spoken for. So has the jungle, and now matching with that Jinx is possibly gonna be that Rakan Blossoms. Gonna be rounding that one out.
Ooh, not gonna lie, the Rakan Jinx combo is not exactly my favorite combo here, but into the Ziggs, it's definitely viable as a form of engage, and more importantly, Blossoms has played quite a bit of Rakan in the past as well. Has made, if not a believer out of me, at least somebody, he's made me somebody who's hesitant to call him out on that particular pick there. Interestingly enough, Supernova, I was wondering if they're going to try and pick that mid lane on the R3 and then ban out sort of the counters like what we've been seeing in the last series there between IMT, AoE, and Winthrop, but they just go for that match for match with that Nautilus, and that means they will have to blind either top or mid.
And there's going to be some options there, so it looks like Supernova are willing to kind of take the hit to the mid. Ariandel is going to get a little bit of help there, making sure to take away some of those champions that might cause a bit of a problem, especially Orianna not wanting Enigma to be able to pick that one up and round out the composition. But Gwen headed up to the top lane, though, censored, saying he doesn't want to play against that.
Yeah, and kind of what we've seen with the way these players pick a lot of times is for both these teams, their mid laners generally have more impact than their top laners. So a lot of times they'll pick safer things for their top laners blind, sort of meat shields, Mundo, Renekton, Tahm Set, these sort of picks to come through here. And with these mid lane picks, it kind of suggests to me that Supernova might be switching that up here. They might be picking their mid laner, and none of the mid lanes got banned. So all those globals we were talking about are still on the table. That's brand new to the PG qualifier circuit there. 6 mid and then Twitch. Nope, they're playing with us. There we go. There's the Twisted Fate we expected.
All right, and the answer, Daryl's like, hey, yeah, I saw that. Don't worry, I'll hover it as well. I don't think we're going to see a Twitch mid. If we did, that would be breaking the meta to a large extent. And then they... All right, that's pretty funny. I like that. So taking a look at some of the champions being hovered around here, though, options are available. The TF does allow for maybe a bit harder shove potential, trying to match TF in that and then match in the roam, which obviously you can't do post level 6, but at least you can try, and that's the answer. They say the Azir will be able to keep opponents away as well as make an impact.
Wow, okay, interesting pick here, and Azir does perfectly fine into Twisted Fate in lane, actually can bully out Twisted Fate a little bit, and has sort of wave clear to match, but you can't quite match the global presence of that Twisted Fate here, and it feels like when you're picking this, you're kind of going in further into range, and Disengage there wants to play this front to back, and I can't fault them for it. It works perfectly into their preferred style of team fighting here. Keep BMFX as safe as humanly possible, and with that set blind, we said that's something that they're willing to do here. R5 Renekton, it is a counter to set, but I feel like if you're R5ing Renekton, it's, you know, kind of, oh, I've got nothing better to do. There we go. Aatrox, an interesting one as well, and, you know, looking like they're trying to find ways to engage. I don't know how effective that will be into the likes of an Azir, though. Yeah,
this is this kind of says that you're playing and hoping Ariandel is going to be able to influence your lanes in a much higher impact than might be available to him, right? I do see the TF really getting out of lane, and especially if the summoner spells hold true, a triple TP composition post 14 minutes will have extremely strong influence.
Yeah, I don't know about the triple TP here, but we've been baited by these summoners that they're hovering in Champ Select before. We didn't quite get to see, you know, the flash goes from Bud Darius. Still worked out there. So I'm going to withhold judgment on how many teleports exactly we see here. But I do like teleport on Twisted Fate as well, especially pre-14 minutes when you hit that level 6 with the Destiny. You use the Destiny to get around, to get the ganks off, and the TP to get back to lane so that you don't miss a beat to come through. Now, looking at these compositions, we talked a lot about the Dare composition. The fact that it's a front to back, they've got great engage, they've got great disengage. The showstopper from set is going to be literally massive when you grab that Aatrox, that Xin Zhao, that Nautilus, who are looking to get in there. But Supernova, they're in a slightly different boat now. When you pick that Ziggs instead of a Jinx to come through here, your actual team fighting is a little bit weaker. You're not going to put out quite as much sustained damage, but in exchange, your poke goes up. And with the likes of a Twisted Fate as well, you can throw out those wild cards as poke. And then when you need to pull that go button, running in, you know, especially with Rapid Fire Cannon, Gold Card, that's an option. Baeko here with that Xin Zhao rushing in as well. And of course, Pseudo Nautilus, right? That depth charge, it's a point and click engage. So I like what Supernova have drafted themselves with the poke and the ability to engage. But should they fall behind, that's when they might start to fall into some problems here.
It's going to be one to talk about, especially considering the fact that Dare at this point is well known as a team fight composition, no matter what you say. So even though Supernova has these talents, has these champions, right, coming in here and saying, hey, we'll challenge you at the very end, we have to think about the fact that one of the things that makes Dare so dangerous is the fact that they're also willing to pull the trigger at any point, right? This is a team that is quite literally down so much gold and saying, we see someone out there, let's go ahead and give it a shot. You know, we might wipe, but we might not.
Yeah, I mean, as Prussian said, right, both these teams have played from behind in gold. And I can't speak for Supernova exactly, but for Dare, I know that they don't really care about the gold deficit. A lot of, to them, the issue is BMFX online? If BMFX is online in terms of how much gold they have and how much damage they have, if everybody else is down gold, they're fine with it. Limo will still try and find that perfect engage angle. And so, to a large extent, Orbital, I feel like the gold values aren't going to matter too much this game here. It's going to be a lot about literally just the execution of the team fights. Which team can find their particular win condition? Can Dare find their engage angle? Or can Supernova, get their poke down, find the engages as they need to? And for that reason, this was supposed to be the hype match. Two teams very closely matched, very similar styles. It's like throwing rock into rock, and at the end of it, there's just a whole bunch of rubble.
I mean, and considering our predictions are already shot, I believe one of the funnier analytics that was shown on this Group C is, I think, 3 predictions of, I think, like 26 or 27 are gone, right? Like that is our set right now. We are currently 3 correct, and it is going to be a phenomenal series. I think this is going to be another chance to take a look at maybe the underdog coming out here in Dare, like you said, and then of course Supernova. But of course, I do have to also give the question over because, again, we talked about the Hecarim coming out here for Limo. Doesn't have it this time, but the J4, right? J4 is also well known as an early ganker, and that's something that Dare we've been able to criticize with fair reason, I feel. With this J4, do you think we will see a bit more early game interaction, right? Maybe those lanes being ganked over and over again or anything of the sort here?
Well, to be fair to Limo did explain that a lot of the inactivity in the early game was what champion you're playing, right? He was on the Hecarim. He needed to hit 6 versus similar to Diana there. With something like a J4, might be a little bit more active in terms of trying to make things happen here. But when I think about that for Limo, I look across to the other side where Beko for Supernova is on this Xin Zhao. That's another early game champion. And Beko is not somebody who likes to sit back, likes to be very aggressive, get those lane ganks going. And when Beko is on point, especially around the mid lane with Ariandel, that's when we start seeing Supernova really get the ball rolling, really snowball into a state where teams struggle to match them.
And as we get into this game here, we see some lovely skins as well as some amazing players that'll be coming out and the entire series. So let's go ahead and run it down. If you didn't see it on the early graphic while watching that champion select, we have for Dare Gaming in the top lane, Censored in the jungle, Limo, mid lane Enigma, the ADC role is BMFX, and at the support is Blossoms.
And on the red side for game 1 here, it's Supernova, the heart of amateur here, and in the top lane it's Fire Theft, Beko getting interrupted in the jungle, Ariandel in the mid lane here, Psycho and Pseudo rounding up the bot side.
And thankfully, we weren't tricked by the early game draft. It is a triple teleport situation, as well as a first strike for Psycho, trying to go for that early poke and gaining a little bit of extra damage on top of it.
Yeah, and for Ziggs, this is, a summoner that we've seen run plenty of times before. It doesn't really change too much for the Ziggs here. You took the teleport so that you could trade in lane, get better base timings, and for that, TPing to your turret is perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable here. Another change is first strike for Ziggs to come through. That was something we didn't have in 2021, but often can accelerate the pace for these Ziggs to scale up.
This is very fun to take a look at, and so far, of course, BMFX saying, okay, I see what you're doing. Let's go ahead and just try and power farm. Again, keeping all potions up and available is going to be spot side poke junglers, of course, on different sides of the map. We did see Emo taking out that blue side, and Beko managing red, and gank paths are definitely going to look a bit different.
Yeah, because both junglers are pathing opposite from each other. For Beko here, you're probably not really looking at that bot side here. You're not expecting Psycho and Pseudo to win out right away in those early levels. Instead, top side with that Aatrox here, that is something you can help influence. And right now, Fire Theft has taken, some rough trades set incredibly strong on those early levels here. So if you can bait censored in a little bit, turn the tides and let Fire Theft get control of that top lane, that's a really solid start for Supernova.
Becco is moving a little bit towards that. We could see that in the next minute or so. You can see the pings going out though. Limo on his own warpath, looking like he wants to try go out that last little raptor and start moving for that scuttle. It's a pretty quiet early game here, not only in terms of map movements or the lane movements, but pushing as well. No one's really opted to hard shove a lane or look for those early dives.
I love that as you say that, we pan over to BMFX, who just got a cheater recall shove in the bot side there. And they could do that because, again, with the Ziggs, you took a Sapphire Crystal. You're not looking to necessarily dominate right away here. But you're right, for the most part, bro. It is a fairly quiet start to the game. And did we really expect much different from these teams here? They are team fighting teams, and the way they drafted as well, right, with the Azir. Yes, you can poke and bully the lane, but against a Twisted Fate, it's kind of non-interactive for the most part. Twisted Fate doesn't want to deal with you. And so top side's where we're the only lane where we're really seeing action, and 2 bruisers with self-sustain, well, that's going to take a while too.
And we gotta watch this happen over and over again, and I don't think anyone really dies, so who's going to pick up the Thorn Mail first, right? Who is going to pick up the Bramble Vest and itemize that, or into whatever Grievous Wounds item you so desire? First Dragon, of course, will be the Mountain Drake, which means that the teams might not really opt for it unless it is 100% secure. Managing quietly, so like you said, cheater recall coming out for BMFX, so to actually counter Psycho did have to burn that TP. He said, I'll go ahead and pick up that early Lost Chapter.
Yeah, and now Psycho is not going to have any mana issues whatsoever. They can start pushing, matching the shove that comes through from BMFX as well. And we'll have to see how that influences this, because both Rakan and Nautilus for Blossoms and Pseudo here respectively, they like to roam. They like to start impacting the lanes. And we touched on the fact that both these junglers are early junglers as well. If we see desynced support roams coming out here, it could be very risky. Both Ziggs and Jinx are diveable. And as we say that, Becco might look to kick off the first action of this game.
Being so calm, BMFX and Blossoms might be lulled into a false sense of security. Pseudo will to kind of prep forward. Spotted just yet. Wave pushed up. Still not willing to pull the trigger, so quite a bit of time here being left. And BMFX and Blossoms, they smell trouble and say, yeah, we understand something's happening. Oh, BMFX, nice sidestep, able to slow stuff down, and in comes the J4. Now they're going to fire right back, and Becco, not realizing that the rockets do so much damage, they take it home and get first blood. That is going to be the Destiny's call down. But it is slowed down. Enigma said, hey, I'll challenge you right there. So, +1 to Dare Gaming.
Yeah, really well played. And let's not forget, Supernova was the first one to set up the play. It looked for a second like they were content to just leave it as a lane freeze. But because of BMFX roaming up and Limo winning the wings, it was a matter of the counter gank being more successful. A big pickup as well, that the first blood went over to BMFX. That big carry for Dare that we were talking about.
For a team that is looking like they want to move into that late game in good standing, it's better just to accelerate it overall. So now we get the replay, and I mean, Limo's positioning and timing quite well, and BMFX dodge.
Yeah, and it's a team thing, right? BMFX is moving up because they know Limo is right there, and you can easily do the flag and drag over the wall. If Limo wasn't there, I don't think you see BMFX walking up quite that far on their own, especially when you already saw they were a little bit cagey about shoving that lane any harder there. So really solid team play, communications coming out from a very, very new team.
Not just that, Enigma also having the understanding, and I'm pretty sure also saw Ariendel kind of move down towards that bot side. Very nice to stop that TF from coming in and possibly causing some chaos. So Dare Gaming understanding that Supernova are going to try and pull these tricks, stopping them at those turns and slowing down the pace of this early game to one that Dare are going to happily digest.
Now, while we were talking about all of that as well, First Dragon was picked up by Dare Gaming. It is the Mountain Drake, and The next objective to come up is Herald, and if you look at the Herald, you can already see Supernova making first moves in that area. They're trying to set up the vision. They've even sent Pseudo up here already to make sure they've got a numbers advantage, and they're not far behind the play either. The pings have come out, the missing pings to warn Enigma, hey, we don't know where Pseudo is. They could be coming mid. Blossoms is moving up as well to reinforce.
Very slow movement, and we're seeing the early lane swap, like you said, trying to reinforce, but BMFX calling for the rotate first. This is going to be very, very interesting to see if Fire Theft is also going to opt for it, because this is a huge wave for BMFX to clean up. Already up CS against Psycho in that bot side. And since Psycho is actually left alone, it's going to create a little bit of a momentum shift in Dare Gaming's side on this top. Or between the two bot lanes.
I just love the early movement coming up from BMFX there, from the side of Dare Gaming, to make that call, because Psycho doesn't have teleport available. Used it earlier to match the cheater recall. Does have the Hextech bomb though ready to go, but it's still a bit of ways away, and the Herald's almost gone.
Yeah, it is actually picked up. I think that is going to be picked up by Dare, but the collapse from Supernova might be a little bit better. Now the question is how many are they going to lose? Out goes BMFX, so they do get away scot-free. A bit of a cheater recall coming in here as well, and an easily empowered one gets Limo out. Well taken Riptail by Dare Gaming.
And even in this orbital, you can see how closely matched the teams are in terms of the way they rotate, the way they move as well. And Beko was right in the pit. It came down to a smite fight. Limo, great job for securing that, getting out, and with the empowered recall as well. They just bought just enough time for Limo to do that. That base position was super sketch, but he knew that the rest of the team was there to back him up. And once again, we're dead even in pretty much the overall game state. Bot lane in favor of BMFX, but top lane favoring Fireflies.
Yeah, and that's because BMFX quite literally, I think, stole about 10 CS, right? We see this bottom lane now, 91 to 72, and then the top lane Fire Theft sitting with a solid 25 to 30 CS difference. It shows that Dare Gaming are willing to sack that top side a little bit and say, Censored, we know that you can play well. We know that you can kind of play on the weak side, so we're going to do that. We're going to make sure BMFX is up and ready to go. You can see the levels currently. Enigma is going to pop into that level 9, feel a little bit more powerful here very shortly. Barry Endell trying to match just as quickly.
Yeah, and I think that also highlights a little bit about where the attention has been going for the team. Supernova looking at their mid and top, whereas Dare Gaming, they're sacking Censored here. They know it's BMFX and Enigma who really matter for them. And we've seen this in a lot of Dare games. Unfortunately for Censored, well, they've got the second lowest CS per minute of all tops because a lot of times Dare leaves Censored to dry.
And it seems to work, right? We said it at the beginning, everyone on the analyst desk pointed it out, it's a bot lane game, right? Watching these two bot laners, even if it is a Ziggs, will be key, right? And to give your priority member that CS is one option that Dare Gaming are willing to take. The question is what can BMFX do with it, right? They've already swapped once, you didn't really get any plates either, and instead you actually lost one Supernova, having one taken off of the top lane. What can BMFX do? You have one kill, you have a CS lead. Maybe drop Limo there to try and fight back, but Beko is also thinking the same thing.
I feel like asking what BMFX is going to do for this team in the early game is like just not much. BMFX is going to farm up a storm, right? If there is an opportunity, we've seen that they're willing to make the plays, but it's really not about the AD carry. It's about the mid lane and the jungle here. If Limo starts making moves towards that bot side, then we might get some action. Speaking of which, Limo actually hops into the pit, but this is a 1v3 situation and has to hop right back out.
Took the blast going in, flag and drag out. It was a very, very quick visit. Because of that, Supernova should have here a collection of this dragon. Second dragon of the game, of course, the Ocean Dragon will go down. You get to see the lovely Cloud Dragon that will be fought over throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, and you know what, for Dare, good call, right? Like, there's no need to fight this right now. For that matter, neither of these teams are really in a rush to take this, so instead they decide, Limo, just go farm up, continue snowballing your lead. But to me, there comes a point where Limo has to start making ganks. He's level 7 now, right now. We haven't seen a Cataclysm gank come through right yet. And I know that, okay, it's kind of hard to gank topside, especially when you sacked Censored already, to get your bot side ahead. But you can look for Psycho, you can look for Pseudo, or even better, look for Ariandel, because an age-old answer to globals has always been punish the lane with the global.
Might not be the punish that we want, but it's an attempt. Maybe get a few plates. You do pick up 2, and I think that just went straight to Limo's pocket. Next, once again, farming on the bot side. Be Dare Gaming taking a, I want to say, minor lead in the gold right now. About 600 gold in their favor. Sensitive Core is having to deal with Fire Theft, who is now level 10. Already has a steel-plated boot caps. He's going to start winning these duels pretty hard if no one else intervenes.
Yeah, and I think once Ariandel goes back to base and buy, Supernova is going to have an item lead a little bit across most of their lanes. Actually, as I say that, never mind. BMFX just picked up Kraken Slayer, but Supernova, because you've got mages in the mid and bot, you actually have a faster power spike here. I want to see them pulling the triggers, and they're trying right now. They're looking top here. Everybody's stacked. They don't know Limo's here, but the moment Destiny pops, they will.
And they've also just spotted out Blossom, so Blossom's being a very nice deterrent as well to a lot of what Supernova are trying to do. Both teams, this is a drastic shift from Series 1, right? This is instead of just pulling the trigger, right? These are teams kind of showing off the weapons that they have in hand and saying, yeah, you want some of this? You want some of it? Well, do you want some of it? And just going, it feels like just like a back and forth showing. What they can do is dive on the bot side. That's going to be a gold card into the bomb, but a nice flash out. BMFX should get away. No, that is going to be the Ignite ticking down. That unsealed spellbook coming into play.
Finally, Orbital. Since that early first kill we saw from that counter guy in the bot lane, all's been quiet on Summoner's Rift, and finally we get to see the plays made. This is what I'm talking about when you've got the double mages with the global as well. Ariandel level 10 before that first play was made here. That's not ideal for globals.
Not ideal at all. What is ideal is going to be this tower dive coming in. Sensor going to draw right back, and with no Haymaker though, can't get the shield up. Becco and Fire that make it look easy on the top. It was bot.
Yeah, and there you go. That's that lead that Supernova gave to their top laner here. They know that we can leave bot lane alone. You know, Psycho doesn't need quite as much gold on the Ziggs here, and the wave clear is really solid as well once you pick up the tier, the Lost Chapter as well. They are good to go. So now this is Supernova's map to run here. Top advantage, bot advantage. They have a numbers advantage anytime Destiny is up. And what can Dare Gaming look to do? They're trying to force a play bot side, but I think Psycho either spotted out, must have spotted out Limo. There's a ton of question marks things going down.
Well, they definitely spotted out Limo now, and fired right back. That is going to be a smite to heal him right back up, and Psycho's just like, well, I wanted that. I wanted a little bit of fun. However, is going to... Yeah, Pseudo's running right back up, so unless you spot that one out, it might be a chance, but first tower, second. I'm so sorry. First for Dare Gaming. Put down on the bot side too, once again, FX.
Vision spotted though, they know Limo's bot side. Echo playing cross map here, and the teams, they're playing the macro pretty well here. The problem, I think, a little bit, Orbital, is that we weren't expecting them to play like this. Both these teams were playing a little recklessly in the OQ in the early game, but now they're playing it really methodically. And for Supernova to pick up this Herald, it's past the 14-minute marks. There's no plays. But I like a Ziggs team anytime they can get the Herald, because pretty much with the Herald and a Ziggs, you're guaranteed any turret that you drop that Herald onto. So keep in mind that while the gold only slightly favors Supernova right now, they've effectively got an extra turret in their back pocket.
You take a single fight anywhere, you take it into that mid lane, you get a single kill, and all of a sudden you lost 2 towers and maybe lose that dragon that's coming up in about 15 seconds, right? It is a very slippery slope here in this game. I'm also, this is one of those times where I personally would just be like max W on Ziggs and hopefully break the base open a bit faster, right? Just like full out, go for the split push. It's a terrible idea, by the way. I believe so, so I wouldn't want to see that, but that is going to be the charge going off, and it's quickly taken away, so at most, drop it down to about a quarter HP in the mid.
Supernova getting ahead with their clean macro play here now. They drop the Herald for pressure, they get Dragon, and they were looking for a little bit more. That mid lane turret, nice and low. You don't have to take it immediately, you just need to have the threat of taking it. And while all this was happening, Censored catching or trying to catch up in CS, but he's He's just so slow at taking turrets right now that unfortunately Fire Theft is going to be right back up there. Supernova get to reset the map, and they got their leads as well.
Well, you know what? Censored is trying his best. So we give him that.
What?
And Limo worried that he was going to die to one of the bouncing bombs and now tried to take the more aggressive play. Might actually fall here. One more outside on the flip side. We are going to see Blossom take a large chunk of damage, and is going to fall towards that Ziggs, and that's a gold card. BMFX allowed himself to kind of get caught out here, and just like that, 2 kills mid lane. They're fired.
And the turret picked up as well, which they had banked early. I have questions about what Limo was attempting to do with that particular play. There were so many bodies right there that trying to kill Psycho felt like a bit of a long shot. Maybe they were trying to set up for a super mega death rocket, but ultimately not only did Limo go down, BMFX got baited into it. And I know I said that Darius used to playing from behind, but sometimes there's no need to put yourself in that hole.
And I wonder if we do get a replay of that, because it felt like it was a slow enough kill that we weren't really expecting it, right? It just felt like it was slowly moving forward. I do want to give credit though to Limo, so we do get it back here, and I'm very, very excited to see it. Walking in here was mistake number 1. Limo just kind of felt like he could, but watch here. That I wonder if he was worried about that Q actually taking a majority health share and then the Mega Inferno Bomb afterwards, right? So questions there, but this hook here, Blossoms, I'm amazed did not fall. And then BMFX, of course, stepping up here, willing to take the fight, thought that it could happen, and then unfortunately falls to the double kill.
Yeah, and if BMFX had managed to get the kill and they get excited, maybe they could have turned on that, but it's such risky plays to come through that they're putting themselves into on all that series. And keep in mind too, you saw Ariandel come in with that Destiny Gate. There's always a numbers advantage. Unless you have Enigma sitting right on top of Ariandel, you've got to assume that he's going to show up. And so when you make these plays, you've got to have a numbers advantage to start to actually make it even in the end.
I like what we're seeing here. This is going to be the jump in because there are no summoners, and a little bit of revenge has been paid down. But the Dragon, Limo says, hey, we're still fighting here. That's going to come from the side of the Everfrost. The shove is there, but the health bars are a little bit too low. So there, I'm not sure can follow through on this. Huge Haymaker goes through. The health bar bleeds right back. That goes only a few kills, but the rockets fired away means BMFX is able to survive on less than 100 HP. Dare take 2 home and lose no one.
Well, Orbital, I was waiting for a 2-item power spike for BMFX, but I think we're here into the mid game, and the team fights are breaking out. This is exactly how Dare have played. This is their bread and butter. These precarious fights to come through, and keep your eyes on Ariandel once again here. The fight breaks out, the TP comes through, the Destiny Gate comes in as well, and sure, you killed the Ziggs right off the bat, but the fight looks bad. However, BMFX untouched on the back end here, pretty faring away in the team fights, and this is what a Jinx does. This is why Jinx is OP. You challenge them, you let them first pick it, and now you pay the price.
That gold card almost netting a return kill as well. You saw that last little tower shot go through, but look, it is so close, and I love the fact that they're testing it now. Again, we're getting into the meat and potatoes, like you said, of this game. It's slowly going to accelerate from here. Even after those kills, right? Dare Gaming picked up quite a few. The gold is still in Supernova's pockets. Still, I believe, a 1.9 to 2k lead, and it feels like it's going to stay that way, and I would love to see the gold graph as well, because I think a majority of that is actually from Ariandel's passive.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, I mean, with that loaded dice, but here's the thing, Orbital, I said in the beginning, I'll say it again, I don't think the gold matters, and in fact, Baron has nothing to do with gold. Dare have snuck in here. Supernova let Vision lapse, and while they suspect it's being done, here we go, Destiny now revealing it.
Yeah, they're going to go for it too. They're going to try and finish it off. Ariandel is going to hold. That's going to be a gold card. They do finish it off, but how much are they going to lose? That's going to be a kill onto the Ezio first. Now they're going to finish on the other side. Super Mega Death he hits a Crescent Guard and does nothing. That means Supernova can go ahead and clean up the rest of this fight. Baron may or may not have been worth it, because Dare Gaming will go ahead and lose 4.
Psycho stopwatch right there just saved everybody, because if it wasn't golden, if that rocket had blown up, I think multiple people had died. As it was, it went right on through, and sure, Dare, you got Baron. Yeah, it was a risky play, but Supernova's killing you, and they're now the ones with the Baron power play, as it were. They're pushing in, and it feels like 20 minutes of silence, and suddenly the base gets broken in just one team fight.
Yeah, it's because of that one that you see on your screen there, Psycho. Ziggs, we said it right at the beginning. You lose a single fight here in the mid game, and Psycho will run freeform on it, right? He will go ahead and take every single objective that he can as long as you are dead. And that has even enabled Supernova to clear out the map. Now has 3 dragons. We're gonna see this fight one more time.
Yeah, so Arindel just kind of distracting everybody in the back end. The scrum's happening, BMFX off to the side, but you can see the rocket went through, everybody just shifted down slightly, was just enough to make sure that no one got tagged. All those low health bars, Beko, Psycho, Pseudo probably all dead if that hit. Now, the Baron buff is still in effect, and for the side here of Dare Gaming, they're still pushing in with it. They still get some time with some members.
Out there in the live broadcast, of course, the tower also going up from the Azir. The mid tower fell. They are going to try and manage to hold it off here. There's no real objectives to play for either. That's about as much as Dare got out of it, right? All you really got was a tower in return. You're still down quite a bit. The main question, of course, in my eyes is how well will Dare challenge this upcoming dragon? I know it's in 4 minutes. I understand that's a long time away, but it feels like with how the pacing of the game has gone, that's going to be our next big kind of idea of how this team fight will actually break out.
Kind of. I mean, Supernova picked up the dragon after, pushing into the base, and that's why the dragon timer is so long away. But for Dare Gaming, they have to team fight. So if they can find a fight somewhere else, they'll be more than happy to take it. The problem is they can't if Supernova's not willing to fight them, right? Fire Theft right now is a better split pusher than Censored. Censored, 60 CS down now. That's a pretty big gap, and oh, Destiny comes down.
And this is just clean, methodical, and sure, if Censored wanted to need a piece of that, had to use that showstopper just to get away. Card does land, and now they're actually going to re-engage. Unfortunately, the entrance did not work, and Blossoms might have to leave as well. Crescent Guard used to manage a disengage. Supernova will be happy with catching out BMFX.
Just saying, this is why Blossoms has converted me in terms of Rakan. Got in, disengaged, got everybody out on what should have been multiple members dying, if not a full team wipe. And this is the problem that Dare Gaming have now playing into Supernova. Supernova can split push. Ariandel can always Destiny Gate into either Enigma or BMFX if they're ever isolated on their own, whereas Dare Gaming have to play as a group, and you're never going to rotate fast enough to match the split push, the Ziggs, the Twisted Fate, the Aatrox.
The value that Supernova are getting out of this answer to the Jinx is starting to ramp up, right? Not the burst Ziggs that we normally see as a Leandri's coming out. It will burn so quickly through any objective that you have. And as long as we keep seeing Supernova kind of shifting around the map continuously, keeping BMFX on the back foot, this will never stop. I'm also very surprised that we don't see at least a QSS in the pocket, right? Because BMFX going straight for damage, saying, listen, I can't even afford to go on the defensive. I have to itemize damage.
True, and sometimes when you're falling behind like that, you're thinking, okay, if I pump out enough damage fast enough here, even if I do end up dropping, it's worth it. Not to mention, you do have CC around you, right? The problem with BMFX was that last catch, BMFX was on his own. There was no knock-up, there was no grab, there was no stun anywhere nearby to help out. And theoretically, that shouldn't be the case in these upcoming team fights. Orbital, minute and a half. Dragon's coming up. Baron is potentially going to be on the table soon as well here. And for Dare Gaming, they have to fight soon. The longer this goes on, the worse it is for them. Even if they're losing turrets and the amount of ground they have to cover becomes smaller and smaller, if they're shoved into their base, they can't contest for these souls, for these Barons. And sure, Cloud Soul not that important, but Elder Soul, that one's a game ender.
Painful reminder of what Dare have had to give up to maintain what little control they have, right? And as stated, Dragon coming up in 40, you can actually see a little bit of positioning. Double pink wards over in Dare Gaming's jungle. They're actually preemptive warding in case Supernova actually say, hey, well, we don't have to worry too much about Dragon. Let's just go ahead and turn to Baron, right? If this mid-fight breaks out hard enough, we could see Supernova just sweep a majority of the objectives and just close out the game like that.
Yeah, for sure. If Dare Gaming go down in any of these fights, right? But if you don't fight this at all. You're slowly just dying out. And Supernova, they can burn a dragon down incredibly quickly. It's coming up in 10 seconds, but look at where Dare is positioned. They're not really contesting the entrance to this dragon whatsoever here. And for a second, I thought Supernova was gonna blitz the Baron. That's an option for them as well.
Yeah, they have nothing to lose. Remember, a single Cloud Drake on its own doesn't really spell that much doom, right? It's not that high of an objective, even with the changes that they made here in Season 12, but going down, Limo has to throw down the flight. That's going to jump in. Do you get the smite? No, you do not. Limo has to get out. Burns the flash. Contained is the best way to put Supernova's control over that objective, and now they're allowed to push over into the mid.
Yeah, or into the Baron here, Orbital. They're going to force Dare Gaming to walk into the spot. And there you go. Step one of trying to secure an objective, clear all the vision. They don't have to take it now, but just by clearing out the vision, Dare now have to walk into this neutral area. They blew the Super Mega Death Rocket. Granted, it's not necessarily the biggest team fight ultimate, but Supernova have all their ults up and ready to go.
Have plenty to work with, and I mean, do they really have to go out? You take a look at the items that Fire Theft and Beko have made, they're going to sustain forever at this point, but look at it going down so quickly. This could actually be very dangerous. Baron 2.0 getting started up here. Ariandel on the other side is going to go ahead, swap up. It is taken, so the Baron does go into Dare Gaming's pocket, just like last time as well, but this time, can they manage the help? It's a little split decision, and it actually looks like they get some return kills. Yes, you take down the TF. Censored is going to be able to get over the wall, but is going to get tagged up by Fire Theft. However, this time around, you only lost 2. You did not lose 4. You can utilize the Baron a bit better here at 29 minutes.
On one hand, Orbital, it feels like we're watching a replay from, what was it, 6-7 minutes ago when Dare snuck away the Baron, but honestly, it's the right call. They get objective bounties. Yes, you gave over kills, but more importantly, you deny the Baron buff away from Supernova. We already said how good their split push is, how good their turret taking is. If they get it, they just shred right into your base. And once your base is cracked here, it's so hard for Dare to try and defend. And if you thought that that fight looked good for Dare and maybe they could turn it if BMFX was there, I want to point out the ones who were low, Ariandel, Beko, Fire Theft, Psycho, and Pseudo, all of whom are huge threats to this Jinx, were very healthy and ready to turn at any moment there. So Dare Gaming making the right call to get out with who they could.
And I think that also maybe a little bit of trauma from the past Baron that they did, right? Just, man, we don't want to lose 4 again. We really don't want to lose 4 again. So, again, playing it a little bit safer. Now, like I said, question marks. What can you get with this Baron if you're Dare Gaming? Supernova, how much can you contain? You have a Ziggs in mid. You have this great wave clear. And with the tower going up, Dare are going all in. They are going to pump out a 1-4. Censored has teleport up. They back off, so utilizing that that passive coming in from Enigma, gonna fall fairly quickly without much rebuttal.
Yeah, they saw the vision kind of going down on the side, knew they were getting outflanked, and they're actually calling Censored in here to try and make a play. They've got the minions at least, so they might try and take down this turret. Watch Fire Theft on the flank. If Fire Theft can get in, Dare could be undone.
Yeah. Fire Theft actually shows us time, and that's going to be the Destiny call down. Where is that TP coming? It's coming pretty far away. Now it's a little bit of a split. BMFX is actually running on the side. Has not been able to find an entry. Needs the team there. That's going to be the catch. That's actually the taunt. This is going to be Blossom's attempt. That's a Cataclysm catching 3. Look at the wipe coming through. It's all popping off here. Supernova feel the brunt and weight of Dare's team fighting out of nowhere at 31 minutes. It is going to be a team fight to push a 4-0. Dare Gaming respond back, and Supernova have to watch their face crumble.
That's game. Welcome to Dare Gaming here. This is precisely how they win games. 30 minutes, we scale, we scale, we scale. BMFX finds a big fight or wins a big fight with the team, and they just absolutely end it. Travesty, I can feel your belief all the way from the analysis.
And just like that, League of Legends is just that easy. For anyone watching who has never watched before, it's just that easy. It's totally so easy as wait 30 minutes for the perfect team fight. Rebuke the engage from Fire Theft and the TP or the Destiny called in from TF. Honestly, so much going on there that Dare did so right.
Yeah, and I do want to highlight that Supernova played the early mid-game macro incredibly well. They were This is going to sound bad. They were winning right up to the moment they lost, basically. But that was how it kind of felt. Everything turned on that one single team fight. And this was why Jinx is going to become such a high prio pick within this particular game here. You could see BMFX just needed, what was that, 4 seconds of time to completely pop a team fight on that Jinx here. So going, into game 2, I'm kind of hoping that maybe Supernova go blue side, pick that Jinx for themselves, because Psycho is another huge monster on that Jinx. The Ziggs, sure, that's good, but the Ziggs ain't gonna do what a Jinx does in a team fight.
Yeah, and because of that, it is going to be very interesting. We have to wait and see how Supernova kind of adjusts to this, because that honestly played straight into Dare Gaming's hands. So we'll go ahead, I believe, throw it to a very, very quick break to ensure that the analyst desk is ready to break down this game number 1 and prep us for what could come game number 2. Go anywhere.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on back after what was an explosive game 1 from Dare Gaming to take the dub against Supernova. We're going into things. Smets, you were looking at this game.
Wait. Did you just say Dare won? I went to go get some food at the last minute. I thought that was Supernova's game. Are you talking? Are we sure we watched the same thing? Are you sure?
Well, Smets, it's been a long time, but objective bounties and barons.
Oh. Well,
you blink and you miss it, right? Like,
that'll do it.
It was just one of those games where it's just like, wait a second, hold on. You blink and Dare pops off, and you see with their draft, they set themselves up for conditions to do such a thing.
That's true. I mean, when I think of Azir and Jarvan, I think of really quick Barons, especially alongside the Jinx. I mean, these champions can really mow through objectives super quickly. On the other side, I actually really like Supernova's draft because I really like the TF and the Aatrox together. That lockdown really sets up for Aatrox reset in teamfights. Just refresh the ult. And then alongside the Ziggs, we saw it a few times where Ariandel would gold card BMFX, and then Psycho's ult would land, and she's just immediately dead. But as we saw, it got harder and harder to execute that as the game went on.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty big mistake for BMFX to avoid taking the cleanse in this game for that reason as well. You really do need some way to not get killed instantly off of a Twisted Fate gold card, but you know, after watching the last team fight, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe he's just on another level entirely. The healer definitely worked out there.
I mean, Choo Choo, he was all aboard the CC train, dude. He was not moving anywhere, all aboard. But man, there was a lot of chaos that did happen there, and you're talking about where the cleanse could have come in handy. I do want to throw our attention over to the replay that we have of the first Baron. That is a big example of when the cleanse would have been handy with the CC train that was unleashed as it was rough here as question if you could just guide us through this.
20-minute Baron, as we can expect from this core of Azir, Jarvan, Jinx, but the TF ult is pretty big and just gets all 5 seen, and TF sets up the flank, and they kill Enigma immediately with Psycho's ult and J4 engage. And BMFX has a really hard time getting into the fight because he has heal instead of cleanse. Ariandel just crushes on him, and she just gets popped, and it's almost a full wipe other than Blossoms for SM.
Yeah, BMFX sort of zoned out by the Cataclysm as well. Couldn't get past that little corridor, was completely locked out. So, yeah, he really did struggle in that one, which is a pretty big deal considering what BMFX is actually capable of doing when that doesn't happen to him in these team fights, for sure.
Yeah, but what if I told you that they dared to do Baron again? What if I told you that when you blinked, that is the dare that they went for? We have a second replay here to show a major thing that kind of just turned around all the momentum. A second Baron was attempted, and it was a thing of glory for him.
Round 2! Fight! We've got Dare in the pit again, this time spotted out by a control ward instead of the Twisted Fate ult. That's mostly because Twisted Fate ult wasn't actually available anymore. They had already used it to try to get a pick just before. The members of Supernova were off going for recalls, so they definitely did not expect this one to happen. But the way that this ended up playing out, BMFX and Enigma were not on the same page as everyone. They were like, okay, we got the Baron, we're gonna leave. You know, all these melee champions are like, hey, what are you, we can't do this, we're stuck in the pit, come on guys, we gotta try something. But, yeah, Dare, I think Prussian was talking about this team fight, like, they actually could have potentially won this team fight had they stayed in the pit and gone for it, but they decided to take the exit path.
That's true. I mean, Supernova recalling there like that was super illegal, especially just how discoordinated it was. TF ult was just blown, and Ariandel didn't even use it to push out top lane. He didn't even use it to teleport at all. And then after that, that disconjunction basically just let Dare rush Baron, and they used that Baron later on to just completely blow away the game.
Just nothing but a hard agree on that, man. And it's a split decision, but hey, Dare was able to pick up the dub, but it was one more team fight that came after that sealed the deal. And honestly, we were kind of beyond ourselves. We were watching this and we were seeing TF. We saw the Destiny pop, and then TF goes so far into the back. We can see how it starts here.
Yeah.
And you can see Supernova thoughts going into it.
Yeah, Ariandel, he finds BMX on the side, and he pops his ult, but he's pretty much in Africa here, and he doesn't actually land the gold card, and he has a really hard time rejoining with his team. And then since TF, there's just nothing stopping them from BMFX obliterating the Supernova frontline. And just like that, Supernova turns into Super Noobs really fast.
Oh god.
Oh man, the classic
Oh,
nickname
man.
for them. It's tough, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The new roster here for Supernova completely crumbles on one single play. That's the difference in the compositions, right? We saw them have really solid play up until this point. They executed very well on the Twisted Fate picks, and when you're up against a teamfight composition with this Azir, with this Jinx, it's really easy to give them an edge and have it just completely blow out of proportion with the Jinx get excited, passive resets, and everything just blowing up in your face. That's exactly what happened right there. And unfortunately, they didn't get all of the Baron members from before. Both of those members still had it. It was enough to end the game.
Really and truly. And I want to go ahead and pull up one more graphic that we have in store for us that is going to be aptly named the "They were winning until they lost" graphic here. As it tells a story, and it tells the story of what your confusion was when we came back onto the desk. You
This
see
is
it
so
right here.
funny.
Look at the gold difference. Zoom and enhance, ladies and gentlemen.
You got
Grand
that,
Canyon.
that little tiny blue right at the end. That's really all it takes right there. The objective bounties, the shutdowns, and the Nexus, all told in one steep incline.
Yeah, I really do want to highlight something. This was a 31-minute game, right? There were a couple of things that we did like. We're going into another game coming up here. And one of the things I will say that I really did like about Supernova that they did, and I think we all said this when we were going there, they started off very slow, but they played very intelligently in the mid game. It felt like they were taking advantage of TF. They were really taking advantage of the fact that Jinx did not have cleanse. But it felt like they were a little bit too slow for the pace of what Dare was trying to continuously push it towards. And eventually, Dare did catch up.
That's true, and that is something that we see time and time again with Jinx, is that this champion can just really abuse shutdown mechanics, actually. Ziggs can too, but Jinx, I mean, if you take one tower, you just get another tower, you get another tower, and then suddenly the game's over. The same thing happened with Dare versus Radiance, where even though Dare was super far behind, the MFX had his Jinx, and they get one kill in a team fight, and then Jinx resets, and then she just kills everyone, because that champion is completely balanced and fair. So... pretty unreal in my mind.
Yeah.
Can be the janitorial service you need.
Yep. I like the draft strategy of the Ziggs trying to attack that champion, but it doesn't work as well if you don't get the Leona alongside it. Because then you don't have the same lethality in the lane with the Zenith Blade going over minions, which is the main advantage over Nautilus, right? They do very similar things, but it's just that Leona's a bit stronger in that lane, and you can activate the Ziggs bomb and all of the damage that comes alongside that a little bit earlier. So I would have liked to see the Leona. Other than that, I think the strategy was really good. They had some really solid pick potential. It just, it was at a 9. Let's crank it up to a 10 next time. Try to counter the Jinx a little bit better.
Yeah, and also I would really like to see a Xin Zhao not full clear next game, if possible.
If possible, we'll have to see. I mean, both junglers did find themselves having a couple of struggles. Xin Zhao did the full clear at the very beginning, and the tempo was fairly slow. And then, of course, we had the BM replay that we did see with Limo, just constantly going back in the mid lane, like I'm gonna make it work, but unfortunately didn't find that moment. So a little bit of chaos, a little bit of nerves. We got to take into fact that these are players who have very little competitive experience here. No academy players or anything are inside of these amateur rosters. And I mean, they're definitely coming into this game one, and there's a lot on the line. These are two amateur teams looking to, see if they can pick up a big win that will matter tremendously for them inside this group.
Really big movement can happen in this group. We already saw their other group mates in the last series as well. If that's any indication of how competitive this is going to be, I think Dare and Supernova really have to buckle down and make sure they don't throw any games, or keep the comebacks rolling if you're Dare trying to make that 2-0.
Absolutely. We'll have to see. Does Dare take it to a 2-0 over the Heart of Amateur and Supernova? Or is this where Supernova begins their comeback? Casters, take it away.
Alrighty, we are back, ready to go for game 2. It felt a little bit slow, but that last team fight was very, very fun to watch, and showing Dare pop off at the very end. We know Supernova has to come out with something here in game number 2, and of course, they chose blue side, so they will have lion's share of the picks.
Yeah, and that first pick is super important. The fact that Jinx got first picked in that particular game, I think shows a lot about the strength of the champion. Like Prashant says, it's completely fairly balanced champion there, yes. Well, we'll have to see. Like I said, Psycho plays that champion at a very high level as well. So Dare might have to ban it themselves. And keep in mind, they also banned the Caitlyn on the blue side. So if they opt to ban the Jinx, that's 2 bans that they need to keep in mind for themselves.
So much to think about, and I'm also curious just about the tempo of the game, right? Because at this point, I think it's been established, Dare are not going to move from their slow, evenly paced early game. If they can help it, they will continue this management, right? They like the late game. It's on Supernova to push that tempo, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Dare is concerned right now, there's no need to fix what ain't broke. Any losses they might take going up to the late game aren't losses. All they are is a time extension.